Hello there and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic Remastered. This time we're taking a look at the 1995 Nissan 200SX. This is an interesting car. This one is actually from the PAL release. It's been added to all releases with the GC2 Plus mod, and what this is a 200SX that, unlike the rest of the 200SXs that you get in the PAL version, which were renamed Silvias, this one is actually a EUDM Silvia. This is what we got in the UK and Europe as the Silvia. You can tell by the slightly peculiar rear bumper layout. And that's really fun that has been added to all the different regions of the game. So there's a couple of Nissans like this, and there is also a 1998 version of this car that we'll see later on. But other than these two, every other 200SX, 240SX, 180SX, whatever it's called in your region, all of them are Silvias, apart from these two. So there was never a 240SX, basically. There is no in-game representation of the 240SX, because of course the 240, 200, whatever, that all corresponds to the engine displacement, and it goes out the window with all the regionalization. So there was never a 240SX in the game, sorry Americans, but there was 200SXs. And in case you're wondering, the Americans also got their own 300ZX, I believe. There's 300ZXs from the North American release that aren't in any other release, so there you go. I should also mention there's 180SXs in this game as well, which they're the sort of slant-nosed Silvia's, the one with the pop-up headlights. They are 180SXs. Whereas in other regions they get... It's really, really confusing, and I hate the regionalisation in this game. But whatever, we've got the 200SX here. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, 386 horsepower, 1,130 kilos. In case you're wondering, yes, this car does have a race mod. I'm not using it because essentially the race mod just turns it into the normal Silvia. This is going to have 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track in order to take the best time it possibly can. Our current leader is the Mainz Lancer Evolution 5. A 28.209. The 200SX isn't going to beat that. It just isn't. In terms of where this is going to go, well, we have had an S14 Silvia K's go round before. 31.848, and that was one of the Aero models. So in theory, this should be slightly slower than that. In practice, we'll see. I have no idea what engine was in that one. I think it's just a 2-litre turbocharged unit, which is essentially what this car has. But yeah, sorry about the whole regionalisation spiel, but honestly, it's infuriating how these games were regionalised when they didn't really need to be. You know, I don't think Americans are going to get confused. Okay, it's quicker than that other S14 we've had. In fairness, this drives a lot nicer than that other S14. The other S14 was sort of sliding all over the place, whereas this is a little bit more subdued. Yeah, I don't feel it really needed to be, unless they just didn't want to cause any confusion with like Nissan dealers when people tried to order 180SXs, but yeah, I don't get it, because they renamed cars known as Silvias to 200SXs and 240SXs when stuff like the S14, this shape, I don't even think in America was even sold as a 240SX. So it's all very strange how it's very ham-fisted as well. And obviously, as we've seen with some other cars, there's also regionalisation errors in regards to just all sorts of stuff. The Vivios. Remember that Subaru Vivio we had? That one is an absolute nightmare. Because obviously, when I used to do the Hot Lap Classic before with just a straight normal PAL release before we did the Remastered on the emulator with the Plus mod, trying to match some of the regionalised cars up to their equivalents in the Japanese version, because for those of you who don't know, the Plus version, for the most part, it just regionalises all the cars to be the Japanese versions, because that's what they all are, basically, internally. Yeah, I remember the infuriating one to deal with was the Vivio, because the Vivio is called there's the RXR Vivio, but the RXRA Vivio in the PAL version is just called Vivio, and trying to work out whether they were the same was just it's ridiculous, trying to get all the regionalization. But yes, in case you let's put out there, in case you was wondering, all the regionalization is terrible. All the cars are the Japanese versions, basically, unless otherwise stated in this mod. 30.887. Do you know what? That's actually quite quick. Yeah, that S14 I drove, I remember that being horrible to drive. For whatever reason, this feels a little bit more easier to drive. Either that or I've somehow gotten quick around this course, which I don't think I'm going to get a full second quick around this course. This might just be genuinely nicer to drive. You can see the sort of smoke pouring off the tyres though. Yeah, maybe there's 0.2 in there, but this is what it is. 30.887 will put it into 42nd place. It's slightly quicker than Mercury Cougar, quicker than the Toyota Supra, although admittedly that thing had a crazy nutter turbo on it. Quicker than the NSX. Yeah, quite quick. Although I say that, it's only about 0.3 seconds up on a Mazda Roadster, so as I've said before, the rear-wheel drive cars, the way they work, the fact that they're all just sort of big power isn't going to save you around a track like this. Drivability is going to save you, so rear-wheel drive cars are just going to be all over the place when it comes to this track. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and join me next time when I'll be driving another car from 1995. Until then, farewell.